Christopher Nolan's epic Batman series ended on a somewhat confusing note. Batman was essentially dead, Bruce Wayne retired in Italy, and all the villains met a slow, dramatic end. But every resolution seemed to bring yet another cliffhanger. So what exactly happened with the finale of The Dark Knight Rises? Here's an explanation of what really went down in the ending of Nolan's Batman series, and what it meant and still could mean for the future. Last Survivor. During the climax of the movie, Batman scoops up the bomb threatening Gotham with his Batpod, and shoots off toward the ocean as fast as he can, where it eventually explodes at a safe distance from the city. The now dead Batman is finally hailed as the hometown hero he was all along, and Alfred heads to Florence, likely holding on to a sliver of hope that he'll find Bruce Wayne living a new life as a quiet family man, just as he'd described at the beginning of the film.
I had this fantasy that I would look across the tables and I'd see you there with a wife.
Of course, Alfred does spot Bruce lunching with Selina Kyle in a pitch-perfect resolution that, well, seems almost too good to be true. And for many viewers, it was. Some fans interpreted this as another instance of Christopher Nolan spinning top-style trickery. They saw the scene of Wayne's perfect retirement as a part of Alfred's imagination. But Christian Bale says what we saw was what we got.
My personal opinion is, no, it was not a dream. That was for real.
The fact that Lucius Fox later discovers that the autopilot function on the Bat had been restored by Bruce himself certainly lent some credence to Alfred's vision too. The Light Knight Rises. If Batman was the Dark Knight, then Officer John Blake as the franchise's Robin is certainly a lighter shade of justice.
You should use your full name. I like that name. Robin. Thanks.
The orphan boy turned honest cop was a champion of kids in need, and helped reconnect Wayne Enterprises with the orphanage he'd grown up in. He's also the perfect person to take over and become the city's newest masked hero in Batman's stead. A future that was heavily hinted at when he found the Batcave at the end of the film. We don't get to see what his crime-fighting style might be like, but based on his do-gooder attitude throughout the collapse of the city, Blake could be an optimistic successor to Wayne's tenure as Gotham's resident hero. So the movie's closing moments, where Blake gets the key to the cave, asks the obvious question: room for a sequel? It's been several years since The Dark Knight Rises closed out Nolan's Batman trilogy, but the ending to the film definitely left the door open to more exploration of his grim vision of Gotham City. With Blake taking over the Batcave and plenty of villains from the comics waiting for their turn on screen, there's a ton of material to make this film series a quadrilogy or even larger. Unfortunately, the would-be star of such a sequel, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, has cast doubt on the idea of Nolan's series ever getting a fourth installment. He told Cinema Blend, "I think Nolan very much thought of that movie as a conclusion, and there's a theme that runs through all three of these movies that begins in the first movie, runs through the second movie, and it concludes in that moment where he says that Batman is more than a man. Batman is a symbol." And so to have another man other than Bruce Wayne kind of becoming Batman at the end of that trilogy, I think that's the perfect ending to that story. But still, even if Nolan and Gordon-Levitt aren't interested in returning to the material, another filmmaker could, in theory, pick up where Nolan's series left off somewhere down the line. After all, Bryan Singer's Superman Returns was a sequel to Superman 2, 26 years later, and Singer straight up ignored Superman 3 and 4, so never say never. Setting a tone. Before The Dark Knight, the campiness of 1997's Batman and Robin derailed the Caped Crusaders' movie bankability.
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
But the end of Nolan's series signified a major tonal shift, giving us a much more serious and dramatic style than the previous set of Batman films.
I'm Batman.
That new, more grounded view of DC's comic book characters would become something of an inadvertent standard for the DC Expanded Universe films to follow. Just look at Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice's grim, gritty version of Batman. The same dark tone colored the palettes of Henry Cavill's Superman, and Justice League looks like it's heading in the same direction. And that's not the only precedent Nolan's film set for the Batworld either. The standalone series. Everyone knows that shared comic book universes are all the rage right now. After all, there's a lot of money to be made by dangling one piece of the shared universe as a must-see for the eventual superhero smash film that's coming soon from each studio. Even Harry Potter has gotten in on the sequel-prequel spin-off game. But the Dark Knight film proves that an endless extension of a beloved property isn't always necessary to rake in the big bucks and earn respect at the same time. While sequel hopes might always loom over Nolan's trilogy, it currently stands alone as its own 3-part series that earned a lot of respect from critics and had audiences forking over their cash at the same time. It's hard to imagine what might have become of the series if Nolan had allowed Warner Brothers to spin the franchise out into a shared universe of its own. But the fact is that he didn't, and his movies still accomplished everything they meant to. Hopefully, future filmmakers will look back at his trilogy and its standalone ending as the perfect way to handle high-profile properties for the next generation. Thanks for watching. Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.